Hello and welcome to Healthy Knitting. My name is Rosie. Your host today is February 2nd, 2016. And most often I forget to tell you that there is a Ravelry group over on Ravelry called Healthy Knitting. That was Natalia. There's also a blog page called, oh, that wasn't Natalia, it was Karina. Healthy Knitting blogspot. No, I don't know what it is. WordPress? Oh my god. Yeah, this is why I forget to tell you because I don't even know what it is. I just start typing healthy, so it must be healthyknitting.wordpress.com. And there are no show notes over there, but if you like to subscribe that way, which is how I like to subscribe, I tend not to subscribe very well on YouTube because I don't know. I don't like the way that actually feeds in to tell me when I have podcasts. I like Ion Reader, and that's what tells me I've got things to watch. So that's how I do it. So if you are so inclined and you want a subscription site like that, you can go over to the blog. So today I have a few things to show you, and I'm not in my normal room. I decided to come out here so that you could see kittens. Oops, wrong way. Oh, I thought they were on that side of me. So here's Alphonse, and this is Violetta. So I thought they would make an appearance much more easily than in the other room where I tend to shoo them out of. I finally did get to finish cleaning my house except for the basement. So everything in my living room is very pleasing to the eye now. I feel like I can breathe. I had stuff everywhere. You ever have that happen? And big piles of things that need to get out of the house, and I just kind of left them there and left them there and left them there. I'm like, oh my God, just get rid of it all. So that is what I did. The house looks nice. That is still Karina crying in the background. I don't know why. She just sometimes does that. So you might hear animals crying. I had Natalia out today. Today's beautiful. It is February, and it is actually, oh, sorry, I'm shaking the table. It's beautiful out. Tomorrow it's supposed to be about 57, but raining, so not such a beautiful day. We had our holiday party this past weekend for our knit group, and that was lots of fun because everybody made it. Hurrah! I haven't seen everybody all together in one room since our friend got married, and we wound up, oh, I wanted to show you that. Where's my phone? Is it in my pocket? Darn. It is not. It's over there. We made her, I say we loosely as because there were pretty much 3 people who really did that a lot. I'd only made a few hexies because I really didn't knit over the summer. But I helped piece it together, which was fun. But we made the non-poofy hexies, and then we seamed everything together. And because my friend is the one that made you've seen the earrings. These are actually new earrings that she made for me, which are beautiful. I'll talk about those in a minute. She made honeycombs and a bee, and I bought that jewelry and absolutely love it. We made her the beekeeper quilt. Don't know who that's by. I totally forgot to look this up before I started, and I don't want to piece together a whole bunch of stuff like I did last time. It takes forever. So anyway, lots of different colors, but they all mesh together well. I think we did a really nice job of putting it together, and we presented that to her at the Christmas party, which was really fun. So it's very exciting to actually see that project come to life and actually how long it took. I would love to have one of those made in handspun and different natural colors of handspun. I think it would look gorgeous, but bigger hexies because it takes an awful lot of time to put it together. And I figured bigger is better, maybe faster. It doesn't take long to make each hexie. Each hexie took maybe a half an hour to make. The tricky thing is making sure it's the right size. So if you're using different yarns, you have to re-swatch. Like I made some and I had to rip them out and start over again because they weren't the right size for the quilt. So that's another reason why I didn't make that many. It was just like, oh God, every time I change yarns, I've got to do this again. So anyway, it was absolutely stunning and a really beautiful blanket if you're so inclined to make a blanket like that. I would love one, but again, my whole question is what to do with those little furry creatures right there, because as soon as they put their fingers in things, they pull it. And then there's the question of cat hair, which is not everything. And then you can't wash it. So I don't know. I really want to make a blanket, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. before I start talking about the projects that I'm working on, this is the Notre Dame, I knew it began with an M, the Notre Dame pullover that I got from Interweave in the magazine. That was taupe colored last time you saw it. Now this is its second dye. You can see it's very dark. It's almost like a black now. That is looking a little washed out, but it's not even. So, and it's full of cat hair. The arms totally grew. Okay, so here's the disaster. I have a big knitting pot. I have a big dyeing pot, and I put this in cool water, and I let it just get up to warmer temperature. And it took about half an hour, but quite honestly, it needed to soak even longer to actually saturate all of the fibers before I put the dye in it. And the other thing I should have done was take out the item once it was saturated instead of moving it to the side and pouring the dye in it. Hi, Grigio. Grigio's here to say hello. Come here, bunny. So what happened was parts of it didn't get dyed, and it also I had kind of like a mixture. I had purple, which was a nice color on its own, and then I had this stray thing of color that, stop, bunny, come here. The stray thing of color that I wasn't quite sure what it was, but it was dark. It was blue, and not like the blue that was going to make a nice purple. It was a shocking blue, and I've had that blue in there before and kind of didn't like it. I was looking more for a red purple and not a more bluish purple, if that makes any sense, because the color on here was a little bit like a taupey, I don't know, I want to say red, but there was some red hints to it, so I thought that would look better if it was more purple on the red scale. So that did not mix well. There was a big blotch of like that blue on the front and weirdness missing in the back, and I was like, oh, this looks horrible. So I let it dry and regrouped, and I went into my pool of fibers pool of dyes that I had already mixed. I was like, what do I have? I have black. All right, fine. Do I have enough black? I'm not sure. So I soaked it again. I soaked it for an hour, and then I brought it to temperature, warmer temperature on the stove, and then I actually took it out of the dye pot, dumped the dye in, stirred it around, and then dumped this back into that, and that definitely evened it out. There was more dye than fiber, so my pot is still actually on the stove that I need to exhaust because there's still left dye in there. I'm not going to throw it out. So, dumping that, the water didn't come clear is basically what I mean when I say it didn't exhaust. So it did not, all of the fibers didn't soak up the dye. There was dye left over. So when I have one of those spinning machines, that centrifugal fugers, did I say that right? Where it takes out all the water. I love that thing. I've washed fleeces in there. Well, not washed the fleece in there, but gotten all the water out so that it dries like in half a day. It's so fun. I love that thing. It's amazing. Anyway, I put the sweater in there, and then when I took it out, it was pretty much dry, but I did one of these, and then I just let it to dry, and my sleeves grew. Look at how big my sleeves are now. They're really long. But all in all, I like it. There is a piece on the back that's not as fabulous, but it's not noticeable. Like, I know it's there, but I don't think anybody else is going to know it's there. It's dark. It's a lot better color on me than the color that it was before, that taupe color. I just looked like I was dead in it. So now I actually would wear this out. The way it was before, I wasn't interested in wearing it. Don't scratch on that. Hey, don't. I wasn't interested in wearing it before. So at least my experiment worked. It took 2 tries, but I got something, and now I have to go figure out what to put in that dye pot because I need to get that off the stove and put that away. So at the holiday party, there were some great recipes going around and some wonderful gifts, and I just wanted to share with you. You all know that I love Cynthia. This is Cynthia's work here, and oh, is this the right one? Those pieces over there are hers as well. And you've seen the card of this, but she actually framed a little semi-mini. She has these little minis that are about this big, which I love, and I have 5 of them. And this is like a teenager. So I'm super excited for this. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Probably not in this room because I wanted to keep her work together. So I have had this in my office so that I could see it in there, and I love it extremely. That was from Cynthia McCusker. All right, so let's talk about some knitting. I have been working on a few things. Some you've seen and some you haven't. And then I'm going to discuss a project that I had in the back of my head that's not quite working out, but might work out to be something eventually here. So let me start by showing you a project that I didn't work on this week. It is, oh, well, hopefully that'll show up here. Are you gonna do it? No. All right, is it Embark? No. All right, I'm really confused. Queen of Scots, that should be the project that I'm working on. Okay, so I'm working on the Burnham Wood Caplet by Rosemary Hill, and this is from Interweave Winter 2010. And this is a picture of what it's supposed to look like. I thought it would be nice for spring. I'm gonna just show you the page just so you can see it right there with the name of it on it. So I haven't gotten very far, and I've moved it out of the bag that it was in because now the Viagence is in there, and it's not any farther. This is just this, and I need to pick up the collar. Yes, that's what it's called. I need to pick up stitches and move forward from there. I just haven't gotten around to it because it was something that I actually had to think about, and that's not where I was at this week. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So that's sitting there. I will probably work on that this week. The second thing that you've seen before is the Viagence by Martina Ben. This is my second one, and I am making it on, let me see if I can get to can I get there from here? Honestly, I thought I was trying to be all, I don't know what I'm looking at. So I am using Bittersweet Woolery Afterglow in Ghost Violet. It's 875 yards, and it is a lace weight. It is 55 wool and 55 wool and 45% tencel. Maybe. I almost thought it was 50-50. I did find the label, and now, where is my label? It's somewhere. It might even be in this bag, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the Ravelry post is not correct at the yarn contents. The label is. I would imagine that she labeled it correctly and Ravelry is incorrect. So anyway, it's beautiful. It is right here. I did get past the part where I ripped out. Last time I talked to you, I had ripped out about 12 inches or so. I'm using my size 4, size 5, no, size 4. Oh my gosh. Why is there an S at the end? I thought it was a 5 upside down. Size 4, what is called signatures. And so the reason why I ripped back was because I didn't like my increases. I wasn't doing hers, and so they were looking really wonky and loopy, and that didn't work out. So I am back to, instead of doing the left, right, just make knit front back. So there's no holes. And I'm being very careful not to have it pull off the needles like it did before. So that's where I'm at right now with this. I think it's going to look really pretty when it's finished. It is more of the knitting that I can be portable with. So once I kind of got it out of the box and knit everything that I'd ripped out, because that's what kind of I did with it. Did I show you that? I'm not sure. I had it in a little box, and I put the cake on the bottom and then all of the strands on top. And that way I could bring it in here and knit with it. And then now that it's back just with the cake and everything's knit back there, I can put it in this little bag for travel, just in case I happen to be going somewhere. So the next thing that I'm working on was in my queue, out of my queue, in my queue, out of my queue. I've changed my mind so many times with this project, and then finally I decided to cast on, and I cast I tried to make something else work with this project. Oh shoot, I need to go get that over there. Darn, so many things that I'm forgetting to talk about. It's the Nimbus cardigan from Barocco, and it is a free pattern. The other two patterns were paid for patterns, so this one's a free one. And I like the look of this. It was a little boxy, and then I was like, oh, it's a little short, and I was going to adapt it to something else. So it is the Nimbus by Barocco. It's made in a bulky yarn, well, super bulky, but I'm using bulky. And it didn't require a lot of yarn, and usually when I have bulky yarn and I make it for a sweater, I have just usually about that amount. I have 12 balls of, oh shoot. All right, I'm gonna have to go get some stuff. I'll be back. Okay, so I got a couple of things that I forgot about. So I am using Barocco Blackstone Tweed Chunky. I have used the regular Blackstone Tweed before in several items, and I really like it. It can grow, so I'm thinking that the size, well, I'll tell you more about that as we go. The sweater that I have that I made from Nora Gone with that really grew quite a lot after I blocked it, and that wasn't my intention. So I kind of wear it like a coat instead of a sweater because it's already bulky. But I figured it would be okay with this if it grew a little bit. I still haven't decided whether I want to make the sleeves a little longer. I do have a project that has been favorited with longer sleeves, but I think my intention to wear this because of the color is, again, more of a spring color. It's so nice out right now, you don't really need a winter coat. Even when it's 30, it feels like it's really hot out. I live in the Northeast in the state of New York, and it's just been a beautiful, mild winter. So I'm thinking that maybe the shorter sleeves might be okay, and then I can make a neutral pair of longer fingerless mitts to wear with it if I needed to. I don't know. The jury's out. It also depends on how much yarn I have left. So I'll show you that, and then we'll talk about the project that I was, We'll talk about the project that I was considering using yarn for in such a way. So here's the back, and I have not woven in any ends or anything. It's not blocked. What are you doing over there? So it's relatively short. It's not as short as the pattern called for. The pattern wanted you to use 8 inches from here to here, and I decided to do 10. Ooh, oops, sorry. 10 under the arm. I normally do 14 for a sweater. So even 10 is kind of short, but it's going to hit me right at the waist. But then I figured if it grew a little bit, then it would still be okay. But I kind of wanted something that wasn't too long, but was kind of like, a little snazzy, short spring jacket that was fashionable. So here's the back. Here is the right front. And here is the left front. Now, I made these two last night, and I made this one Sunday night. Yes, because today's Tuesday. And I got part of the way done with the left front, and I was like, oh, I'm just cranking right along. I should have this done, be able to make the next one in no time flat. And then I made all these mistakes, and I was like, are you kidding me? So, as you can see, there's this yarn join right here in the middle. And what did I do? I went all the way out to the end and then joined down a new piece of yarn and had like maybe this much left over. And it was bugging me, and I got about another inch, and I was like, oh, I'll just make sure that I weave it in nice. You can't really weave it in nice when it's on the flush of the end here, just in case you're ever curious about joining yarn. It's much easier to join it on this side where the seam is going to be so that you don't really ever see it. But the thing about this is, being a jacket especially, is it might open a little bit, and I don't want people seeing my ends, kind of like when, see that? See that? Now, because I flipped this up, I usually take my, when I weave in seaming the sleeve, I usually take it up about 3 or 4 inches so that if I ever need to upturn the sleeve, you don't see that thing poking out the end. But you can see it in here. So that bugged me. And then I got up here and I was at the decreases, and then it was bind off this, right, for the collar. And then you should have X amount of stitches left over, as I was doing the decrease for the arm. And I had more stitches, and I was like, shoot, I forgot to do a decrease. So I ripped it back and ripped it back to here. I pulled this back so that it was now at this juncture, which is much nicer place for it to be joined, so that when I do weave in the ends, no one's going to see them. And then I wound up having to do it again because I wound up doing the wrong stitch because I forgot to put the marker back in. Heaven for help. I mean, seriously, it was just like, this could have been done in no time flat. Oops, why is my phone ringing? This happened last time. I don't have time to talk to people when I'm recording. Hold on. Why is my phone not ringing? So this is the thing about my phone. It sometimes does not ring. I don't know. You need to tell me who you are. All right, am I still recording? I'm so sorry. All right. So, oops, I almost dropped my phone. Oh my God, I did. I dropped my phone again. Look at the poor state of my phone. And more of this happened here. Still haven't decided what I wanted to do about a phone. So anyway, my tip to you is to always put your joins where no one's going to see them. It's much easier that way, and then you don't have to worry about making it look nice. And take your time when you're doing your decreases, and if it's not right, pull it out and put it back in again. I don't know who you are. Because if you're going through that trouble, oh, the other thing I did too was I started to make a different decrease here, and it was much more noticeable. Why do I do this? It's backwards. And in the pattern, because it doesn't tell you what kind of decrease to do or whatever, it just says decrease. So I was like, oh, well, I'll decrease a couple stitches in, and it was not flush anymore with the stocking knit, and that was the whole point of this cardigan, being very streamlined and clean. So that happened, and finally I did actually, because it doesn't say, it just says reverse your shaping, and I was like, well, I better do this tonight while I remember what I wrote for my notes, and I'll show you how I wrote my notes for this when I write things out. This is my notes. So that I knew what garter was what, and I knew how many stitches I did stocking knit, and then when I go over for the next two things, it was the back first, and then I did the left front and then the right front, and I'll just check them off again so that I know that I did that with the left and then with the right, and so then I know where my bind off stitches are. I know where I did this, so the longer I wait between doing it, the less apt I'm to be able to understand my chicken scratch notes. So that is one of the other reasons why I like to complete a garment right away. I don't like to wait. I like to just do it all together and not let it take forever. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what my notes are, and I very often change the pattern to what, like the length, I changed that, or I like made little adjustments, and they might not be clear on my sheet, but they were clear when I made them in my head, and so it's just much easier to do it all in one shot. So I still have the sleeves to do and the collar. I am going to probably do the sleeves tonight. Well, actually what I want to do is put the collar on first. So I will probably block it and put the collar on so that I know how much yarn I have, and then I'll decide from there about the sleeves, because the sleeve length is going to be indicative, number one, on how much yarn I have, and number two, if I decide that I do have enough yarn to make long sleeves if I continue to go that way. So that's that project. Should be done and ready to wear next week. I have not picked out a button yet, but I do have some pretty buttons that I bought at Rhinebeck, so that could be a possibility. And it's one big chunky button in the front that will. And the other thing too, I sometimes figure out what I want to do for a button before I make the buttonhole, but I just decided, well, I'll follow the buttonhole instructions, and it was a 3 buttonhole, and I'm pretty sure that I have a button that's big enough for that. That's nice. So if not, I can go to the store. So I was going, isn't this cute? It's one of my Christmas present from a couple years ago from, I think, Regina. It's cute, it's a little cat. So I was going to use this yarn, which is Noro, and it's a boucle, and it doesn't rip back very easily at all. I used size 10 needles for this, and this was going to be a jacket that was in a Noro book. Oh shoot, I have that too. I don't have time to do a big episode today because I'm got so much to do. Anyway, I was going to use this fabric for the inside of the garment, and I was going to use this fabric, this yarn, which is a matching colorway but different yarn, much smoother, for the garter stitch. And the other thing that I brought over here was a video that I got from the library from Lily Chin, and it's called Join As You Go Knitting. Now I found this, it's two DVDs, and I found it really interesting. Some of these techniques I've used before and I didn't really remember that I used them, and other ones were a really big, oh, well that's a really helpful technique to learn. So basically, if you have this from your library, I suggest you take it out if you are the type of person who likes to download and buy. It's a really decent resource. I would be inclined to get this again from the library to brushing up, because the first time you watch something, you may remember one thing, and the next time you watch it, you'll remember a different thing a little bit more. But it gave me some really good ideas on how to actually make that work where I could still have the garter stitch going in the same direction, because normally when you pick up, then you're going vertical along the band instead of horizontal. And this actually shows you how to knit vertically to match your knitting, even in different gauges. It's really, really interesting on the left, on the right, on the top, and the bottom. Really pretty awesome. So great for types of modular, great for big blocks of intarsia instead of having to carry the yarn through. And she had some examples of garments that she made that was like, oh, how brilliant is that to do it that way instead of having to seam everything. So I was like, oh, well, I could do that with this. I'm not thrilled about this yarn. This is a really big pain in the neck. It was supposed to be a big winter coat, and I although I have 3 balls of this, it goes a long way. This is called Waikato or something like that, and I think this is Odori. And I love the colorways, but I'm thinking of a couple of different things to do with this now. And this might, excuse me, I have to, okay. So there are a couple of projects I looked up last night that were a rectangle, which is easy to knit with this. And then you kind of pull up the bottom and sew it, and then add the alternative fabric, which looks nicer for the sleeve part and for the neck part, the band part in the front. So I might do that with this. I'm not sure. I was going to figure something out really cool with this, and it's giving me a run for my money. I don't even like ripping this out now. It is a pain in the neck, so, but I love the colors. I mean, like, they're really, you can't really see it. Can you see it? Let me hold it this way, because it will fall down. There we go. It's nice browns and blacks, which is really cool neutral together. I like that combination very much. So I'm going to continue to think about that and see. The only thing now is because it's so spring-like, those colors to me are more beginning of winter, and I'm now moving towards the pretty springer colors. So I have, my interest level is not really there that I will be able to wear it. So I don't know. That's kind of how things work out for me. And the funny thing, when I was doing, I have one of these little swatch things. Hold on. This was hilarious. This is what happens when you're tired and you're knitting. I did a swatch with this yarn, the Blackstone Tweed. And I did it on 9s because I went down, it called for 10.5s. And I went down to, sorry, I just don't know what this is. Oh, sorry. You can kind of see how old this thing is. It's older than dirt. I've had it forever. And you can't see the 5 over here at this end, but you can see the 4. Now, because I couldn't see the 5, I thought it was the 4. And I'm measuring out in 9s and 10s, 10.5s, 11s. And I'm like, what the heck? I can't get the gauge. Can't get the gauge, can't get the gauge. Why can't I get the gauge? I should be able to get the gauge, and why do I keep going up all these higher needles to get gauge? That didn't make any sense to me. And so within the fabric of my swatch, I was like, I really liked the 10.5s because it looked nice. It was the fabric that felt good. It wasn't too loose. It wasn't too tight. It felt nice. And that was the one that actually was gauge. I mean, really, after I just ripped it all out and started knitting, because I'm like, I'm just going to knit the medium or the small, and I'm going to knit it with the 10.5, and I'm just going to see what happens. Because that's the fabric that I liked. Like, I don't know. So pretty crazy. I feel like painting over that whole thing right there, or like highlighting the 4. I mean, how crazy is that I wasn't even paying attention to that at all. It was ridiculous. And there's this handy dandy little square here for 2 inches that'll tell you the 2-inch thing, but I would just always cast on, when I do a swatch, the number of stitches I'm supposed to have and 2 extra stitches on the outside. And I'll knit across the row, and then when I turn it over for a stocking stitch, I'll knit 2, and then I'll purl till the last 2, and then I'll knit 2. And so I have a garter stitch rib running around the outside, so I can easily see what the amount of stitches I'm looking at is what it's supposed to be. This way I can take the whole 4 inches across, and I can see it, because sometimes they move and they bunch up, and I figure a collective over 4 is better than a collective over 2. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. So if things just aren't working out, just take a break and just refresh your brain to notice that maybe you're not looking at something correctly. Happens to me all the time. Knitting is kind of funny like that. So what else? Spinning. Is that all? I think that's it. I didn't make anything from the books that I took out from the library, and I did have to take some back. I do have a pile to take back today. I have, sorry, I was looking at what one of the cats was doing. There was a book that I wanted to make 2 hats from. It was called The One Ball, and I really liked the 2 hats. There were a bunch of cute little projects in there, but not necessarily things that I needed to make for me or for anything that I have. They had a little dog sweater, which was cute, but I don't have a dog. My cats won't wear sweaters. I can barely even get them to behave. And a couple other things that were really cute, but not anything that I wanted to make for me. But the 2 hats, certainly. And right now, again, I'm like, it's spring. I don't really feel like making a hat. So maybe later on down the road, I'll do something with that book. So for right now, I will just say that this DVD is extremely interesting. And if you are ever inclined about trying to put different kinds of yarns together or change around garments and actually have the knitting be the same direction, this is really awesome. I really liked what she had to say. She's very clear. She's a very good teacher. There were a couple of things that I was a little confused about at first, but because it wasn't clear if you, like, she had this blanket full of different colored squares, and how you could, instead of doing intarsia to make that all the way around, you could just knit all up this, knit one whole panel and then knit a whole nother panel attaching it as you go. And I wasn't sure if you picked up that whole thing with one color yarn or the other color yarn, because it's going to show. So that was the only confusing thing that I didn't really understand. But I actually like the no picking up part. And so I would do that part and make it like that, so that it was flat on flat. And so I like that very much. So Lily Chin is pretty awesome. She's a fast knitter too, pretty amazing. I think she's got the record for the crochet or something like that. But she's been around for quite a while and really knows how to teach. So for spinning, I still have one of my projects is to go through my basement and really sort things out. I was actually looking at some videos this morning on YouTube about different ways to drum card. That might be interesting. I have some fibers that I might want to blend together and do some art type bats maybe. I haven't really spun too much art yarn, but it's sort of tickling a little bit of an interest in the back of my mind. And I do really want to kind of figure out what I'm doing with the spinning this year. I kind of want to, I have a bunch of fleeces downstairs. What do I intend to do with some of them? Just get some basic ideas of things. And if I don't want all of it, maybe I can find a new home for some of it. So anyway, it's all washed, all ready to, process and pick and card and comb or whatever I choose to do. So what else do I want to talk about? Just looking around if there was something else that was something I wanted to talk about, and I don't think there is. So hang on. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm back in my office / yarn room. That phone call actually needed to get taken care of, so I had something I needed to look at, which then brought me in here, and I needed my computer and everything, so we're back in here. So I'm pretty much going to wrap up with a healthy tip right now. So this year is 2016, and I am focusing mostly on how I am, so my mood. So my mood is very important to me, and staying in a good mood, staying happy, staying upbeat, staying uplifted is something that I am really focusing on for this year, because it doesn't really matter what's going around you as long as you control what you are thinking and what you are doing, because it's all about you. You're not affected by, well, you shouldn't be affected by what's going on around you. So that's my focus this year. And so I think I've talked about this before, when you're not feeling all that great, or even if you're just feeling okay, what you can do is smile, because it makes you feel happy and it makes you increase your mood into a better place. So even if I'm just sitting there knitting, I'll just start smiling, and it really helps go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be feeling really good. It can be challenging at times to feel good even when you're seeing things that are not to your liking, and that's really kind of what it's about. It's the opposite way. It's called unconditional, where the condition is not affecting you. You are where you're at no matter what. And so words like, that person put me in a bad mood, hi Natalia, or this situation made me feel X or made me feel Y, you have the choice to feel however you want. And so that's something that maybe you can think about, and maybe you like that idea, or maybe you don't, and you might not, or you might. I know I'm not making any sense right now. Natalia says hello. She's so cute. So let me give you a for instance. Say somebody comes in your realm and starts yelling at you, or saying things that you don't really like, or what have you. It's kind of jarring and upsetting, and it's okay to be like, oh well, I don't really like that, but I'm not going to let that bug me for the rest of the day, and I'm not going to let that put me into a mood where I'm not appreciating everything that's around me. So that's the focus. It's kind of also like not complaining, because what you complain about keeps coming around and coming around and coming around into your experience. So if you just stop complaining about something, you won't have a reason to complain about it. Which just reminds me of this funny thing that I used to get told when I was a little kid. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. So I hated getting yelled at when I was a kid. It would make me cry every time. And, just yell. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, it's kind of like that in a way. So if you're staying upbeat and you're staying happy and you're staying in a state of appreciation, more good things will come to you. And you will see less of the weirdness that can abound in your life that you might normally see, because you are not paying attention to how you feel. So I hope I'm making some sense. But my year 2016 is just looking for more stability in how I feel. And it can go a long way. Stop complaining, start appreciating everything, appreciating all the stuff. And I don't even mean like material things. Appreciating that you can breathe, appreciating that you can walk. You can even start there. If you feel like there's nothing you can appreciate that the sun comes up in the morning, and that it does every day without you having to do a thing. So those are some of the things that may not directly feel like it's going to be a health thing, but quite honestly, the reason why most people are not feeling well or things go wrong is because they're just in not a state of being in that caring for how they feel. You may not understand. I'm probably not making myself make too much sense in this way, but usually the reason why people are upset is get sick is because there's something that's just not meshing with the best in them. So, for example, when people are constantly angry at things, or blaming the world for everything, or upset because they can't do the things that they want to do because they feel that someone else is making them do what they want them to do, it causes some conflict in our bodies. And that's why it's much better to do what pleases you and not live your life for everybody else. Oh, I wanted to show you the earrings. It's not going to focus. They're super cute. So think about that in your life. Think about the things that you do. When you do something for someone, you do it because you want to, not because you have to. Every time you feel like you have to do something, it totally changes the dynamic of the task. It changes the dynamic in your body. It changes the dynamic with your relationship with that person. It changes everything. So, it may be selfish to say no to people, but in reality, if it's not something you want to do, don't do it. A lot of people, and I've thought about that too. When I've made something for someone and I've knitted and I put a lot of time in it and then I felt that they didn't appreciate it, that was kind of like, why did I even go there? Why did I even, and I don't mean why didn't I make it? I had fun making it. Why did I have to go that next step and say they didn't appreciate it? Who cares if they appreciate it or not? Did you enjoy the process of making that gift and giving it to that person? That's all you really need to worry about. You don't need to worry about everybody else and what they're thinking or they're doing, because then it will just make you nuts. And that's discord in your body. So whatever you're doing, do it for the reasons that you want to be doing it for, not for any expectation of anybody else, not because you need the accolades that someone said, oh, that was the best thing ever. It doesn't matter, does it? In the end, it really doesn't matter. She loves to get into a little hole. The only thing that really matters is how you feel, right? So why do you want to feel bad about something? You give it away, you do whatever you did, and you're like, that was fun making it. I had a great time. I appreciated myself giving that item to that person. Doesn't matter what happens to it after that. I think it's come a long, kisses. It's come around a long ways for me to realize some of the things that I finally realized, but it's all just about how I feel. And so think about that when you're doing stuff and see how things change for you. And it's kind of like being selfish in a way, and selfish in a way of how you feel. So that's my healthy tip. Be aware of how you feel. If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And there are other things with that, but I'm not going to go too far because you probably think I'm wacky anyway, but that's okay because it's my podcast. So let's see what else I want to tell you about. I don't know. Can't think. I'm looking around wondering if there was something that I forgot. There's a bunch of things that I've forgotten because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to tell you about, and now it just escapes me. So I'm going to go because it is now 2:45, and I have some more things that I need to do today because it is my free day. And I want to spend some time doing some other things. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week. I will probably talk to you maybe again next Tuesday because the weekend, I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Might actually do something fun, and so it's an interruption to kind of take time out to do the podcast, and I might not have any knitting done until the weekend either, because that sometimes is the time when, like Sunday night and last night, that I was able to make some things. So anyway, Natalia and I say thank you, and